For the last few tapes, we have been talking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing polynomials. In today's lesson, you will combine all four of the operations into simplifying polynomials. Of course, in order to combine the operations, you need to know the order. The order will be the same order of operations that you learned back in a previous lesson. In other words, you'll work inside symbols of inclusion first, then you'll do exponents, then you'll multiply and divide from left to right, and finally you'll do your adding and subtracting from left to right. As you go through the tape, be sure to take careful notes. If you run into anything that you do not completely understand, be sure to get a math instructor or a math tutor to help you. If you do not remember the order of operations, be sure to write the order down and memorize. But for the order of operations, you want to work inside symbols of inclusion. And if you have more than one symbol of inclusion, you work inside out. Then you raise to powers. In step 3, you multiply and divide, and you work left to right. Now, multiplication and division are considered to be equal in the order of power. If you multiply, normally you get large in a hurry. When you divide, you normally get small in a hurry. Therefore, in doing your multiplication and division, you work with whichever comes first. Since we read left to right, the operation on the left will come first. Finally, you add and subtract. In adding, you get large very slowly. Subtracting, you get small very slowly. But they're considered to be equal operations in that respect. Therefore, you do whichever comes first. So we're going to add and subtract left to right. Now let's consider an example. Simplify 2x squared plus 3 minus 2x minus 3 times x plus 1. Two x plus 3 is a binomial. 2x minus 3 is a binomial. X plus 1 is a binomial. So therefore I am subtracting and multiplying polynomials. The question becomes, which do I do first? Well, we know that we multiply before we subtract. So the first thing I need to do would be to multiply the 2x minus 3 times the x plus 1. I can use the FOIL method to do that multiplication. I write 2x plus 3 and leave it in parentheses. I'm not doing anything with this. I'm not doing anything with the subtraction. So I'm subtracting and I'm putting everything in the parentheses. You must put the parentheses. So don't forget to put the parentheses down. Think about what you're doing. You're subtracting the whole thing. Once you do the multiplication, you're still subtracting the whole thing. So the product must go in parentheses. Now, using the FOIL method, 2x times x will be 2x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. A negative 3 times x is a negative 3x. And a negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Now I'll work inside the symbols of inclusion to combine like terms. So I'll leave the 2x squared plus 3 unchanged. I combine the positive 2x and the negative 3x to get a negative 1x. So for my product, I have 2x squared minus x minus 3. So we have completed the multiplication. Now I'm ready to do the subtraction. To subtract polynomials, you add the opposite of the polynomial being subtracted. So I write the 2x plus 3, and then I add the opposite of the polynomial being subtracted. To take the opposite of the polynomial being subtracted, I take the opposite of all terms of the polynomial. The opposite of 2x squared is a negative 2x squared. The opposite of x is x. The opposite of a negative 3 is positive 3. Now note the coefficient of this x here is understood to be 1. Now that we have addition, I can simply combine like terms. So I group the 2x squared and the negative 2x squared together. I only have one x term, so I just leave it, and I group the 3 and the 3 together. 2x squared plus a negative 2x squared is 0x squared. 2 minus 2 is 0. Plus the x, and then 3 plus 3 is 6. Now of course, 0x squared is 0. And 0 plus x plus 6 is simply x plus 6. So my simplified answer is x plus 6. Let's consider an example in which we have two sets of symbols of inclusion. When I have nested symbols of inclusion, in other words, symbols of inclusion within symbols of inclusion, I normally go with brackets for my outside symbol. But it really doesn't matter. Brackets mean the same thing as parentheses. So brackets and parentheses indicate the same thing. Both of them are grouping symbols which tell me what to do first. Since I have the parentheses inside, I work within the parentheses first. Well, I really can't do anything with x minus 3. The terms are not alike, so therefore I cannot combine them. But I can distribute. So I can do the multiplication. See, within the brackets I have multiplication and subtraction. I do multiplication before I do subtraction. So I can distribute the 4 times the x and the 4 times the 3. I'm going to copy everything else exactly the same. So just bring down the 2. When I multiply 4 times x, I get 4x. 4 times the negative 3 is negative 12. I simply bring down the negative 2x. Now I can combine like terms within the brackets. 4x minus 2x is 2x. I'm going to copy everything else the same. Just copy the 2. 4x minus 2x is 2x. So replace the 4x minus 2x with 2x. Just copy the negative 12. Just copy the plus, copy the 7. Copy the 1 minus x. Now I'm ready to distribute again. The 2 times the 2x, the 2 times the negative 12, the 7 times the 1, the 7 times the opposite of x. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times the negative 12 is a negative 24. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times the opposite of x is a negative 7x. Since I have addition, I'm now ready to combine like terms. So I group the 4x and the negative 7x together. I group the negative 24 and the positive 7 together. 4x plus a negative 7x is a negative 3x. A negative 24 plus 7 is a negative 17. So therefore my simplified answer is 3x minus 17.